Hola, oyentes. That means hello, listeners in Spanish for those non-fluent in a language. But hey, do you want to be fluent? Because this episode might just help you out. We're chatting with Amanda Strader, the Senior Accounting Manager at Duolingo. If you haven't heard of Duolingo, it's a language education platform helping more than 300 million users learn different languages with a fun, personalized, and science-based approach. On this episode, Amanda joined us during Sweet World, so pardon the busyness going on in the background, to discuss what Duolingo brings to the world, the different learning tools the platform offers, and how it became the most downloaded education app on iOS and Android. As the Senior Accounting Manager, Amanda also explains how her team handles the compliance and accounting needs of the rapidly growing international company, a big part of which is utilizing NetSuite. Amanda explains how NetSuite helped Duolingo overcome some big growing pains and will continue to do so as the company scales. She also reveals how her team benefits from utilizing NetSuite on the accounting side of things and delivers her advice for other high-growth companies considering NetSuite. Stay tuned, or sigan sintonizados, as you'd say in Spanish.
You're listening to the NetSuite podcast, where we discuss what's happening within NetSuite, why we're doing it, and where we're heading in the future. We'll dive into the details about the software and the people at NetSuite who are behind all the moving parts. We'll also feature customer growth stories, discussing the ups and downs of running a company and how one integrated system can help your business continue to scale.
Before we get into this episode with Amanda Strader from Duolingo, here's a word from our sponsors over at Blue Microphones. Everyone has a story to tell, and if you're a storyteller, you probably know Blue Mics for their iconic Yeti microphone, which has helped millions of people find and amplify their voices. If you're thinking about creating your own podcast, recording some voiceovers, maybe in another language, reading audiobooks, or what have you, then you need to check out Blue's new Yeti Caster, the complete mic and boom arm system ready to connect to your laptop, bringing the ultimate broadcast studio setup to your home or office. That's what we use here at NetSuite, and we really do love recording with them. To get your hands on one of these setups, visit bluedesigns.com and use code PODCAST at checkout for a special price. Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the NetSuite podcast. So I told our listeners in the intro, you're the Senior Accounting Manager with Duolingo. But before we dive into your role, can you tell us a little bit about Duolingo? What is Duolingo?
Sure. So Duolingo is a free language learning platform that teaches 84 different courses across 30 distinct languages.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Do you take any of the courses?
I do. I take 2 right now, Spanish and Chinese. I'm better at one than the other.
And what is that?
Spanish I do a little better at, mostly because we somewhat do it in school here. And
yes.
Chinese is just really difficult for me.
Wow. How long have you been doing it?
Just this year, so only a few months. I'm still early, too.
So you're going to get better. You're going to get better. What does Duolingo bring to the world?
So we are trying to make language and education free and accessible to everyone, no matter where you're from and how much money you have.
How do you do that? How do you make it free if you're teaching this many languages and you know, are across however many countries and whatever else? How do you do that?
So we have 2 main ways that we're doing it. We have some ads on the platform.
Okay.
But the other way is through our subscriptions that you can buy, which are monthly, 6-month, annual. That helps to go to support this mission and also takes the ads off of your learning experience.
Yeah. So subscriptions, that would be somebody that's like, I'm going to Italy next summer. I want to learn Italian. I'm just going to subscribe and have the option to do all of this, over a 6-month period of time or whatever.
Right. You may do that, or you could even be somebody in another country who's trying to learn English because it makes you more competitive within the world. So you may learn the language even for business purposes. Nice. So we hit it a little bit of everybody.
Yeah, a little bit of the B2B side of things, a little bit of the consumer side of things. What different tools does Duolingo offer then?
So we have apps on all of your phones that you can use, but then we also have a Duolingo English test. So you can actually certify how much English you know.
Just English?
Just English now.
Got it.
A podcast to listen to if you're an intermediate learner.
Okay.
and just little stories on the website so that you can also work on your comprehension for some languages.
Got it. Can you tell me a little bit more about the learning tool in the app? I want to let our listeners know like how easy it is to practice, to learn a new language, what the app provides, what kind of stuff you do with the app.
Yeah, sure. So we offer a few different learning resources. Our main learning app features bite-sized lessons that take as little as 5 minutes to complete.
Okay.
Outside of that, we have the Duolingo Spanish podcast, which is a bilingual podcast for intermediate level learners.
Okay.
And on our website, we additionally have stories available to practice intermediate reading comprehension. To help our learners practice conversation, we have events all around the world where you can meet up with other learners and practice together.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool. So is the idea here like people can learn faster, or they'll be apt, I guess, more to learn if it's shorter pieces? Like not everybody has an hour in the day to take a Spanish lesson. Is the idea?
So if you're just waiting for the bus, you can take a Spanish lesson or an Italian lesson, even Klingon or High Valyrian.
Yeah. Where do you like mostly learn your Chinese and Spanish?
I mostly do before I go to sleep. So when I'm laying there decompressing from the day, I'll do a few lessons.
And do you find that you're remembering whatever, you learned from the night before? You're remembering it?
I think so, yeah. And we actually have done some research into when people learn better.
Tell us about that. I'm interested.
On the blog, we have some stories about, I think it's before bedtime, which is why I do it.
Okay.
But there's a lot of information on the Making Duolingo blog where you can find out when's the best time to learn, even what sequence, because with the bite-sized lessons, you may just do a couple, or there's a whole tree is what we call it, of lessons. So some people like to go through the whole tree and finish it, or should you do one lesson and then go back and relearn some of them and practice a bit more? And we found that, of course, you should practice.
Right. Of course. Practice makes perfect. Tell me a little bit more about the podcast. Because is it like a full-blown, like whatever language, Spanish podcast, and you're just supposed to listen in and see if you can figure it out, or is it catered to learning?
It's catered to learning. So it's in both languages, English and Spanish.
Okay.
And they'll tell a bit of the story in Spanish, and then when you go back, the narrator will come in English and give you the gist of what you just heard so that you can keep going in case you were struggling.
Oh, got it. Are these lessons in the podcast and everything else, does it go in order? Like, is it from very, very beginner to, intermediate to advanced, or, are the lessons just kind of like, here's just your Spanish kind of lesson of the day?
It's more of a Spanish lesson of the day for always intermediate level.
Okay, got it. So it's pretty much right in the middle there, and you just get to learn as you go.
You do, yeah. And they're good stories. They are people who could be users who are telling stories about hitchhiking or going places around the world.
Where do you find these people?
I'm not actually sure.
It's just people that are like, I'm down to do that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the lessons themselves, are they beginner, intermediate, and advanced, or is it, again, like the podcast kind of in the middle there?
Yeah, it's in the middle.
Okay. Very interesting. What's your favorite part about learning on Duolingo?
I'm starting, now that I've been doing Chinese for a little while, so when you're first learning the language, we have little animations that pop up and say, even when you're struggling, you're still learning, which when you're struggling is a little bit of a letdown, but now after a couple months, I don't get that message anymore on at least the lessons I'm doing now. Yeah. So it's just nice to feel that improvement.
What do you think is the key to Duolingo's success? I mean, you've talked about just the bite-sized lessons to the little, encouragement to the advertising. You guys are doing really well. You've doubled year over year. What do you think is the secret to Duolingo's success?
I think it's that it really is fun, and you actually are learning a skill that you can use to either relate with people better or even use personally to improve your career. Yeah. So there's just a lot of personal gain out of it in a fun way.
If you've ever met a famous athlete at a corporate event or gotten an official autograph, chances are Steiner Sports made it happen. Here's Brandon Steiner.
We believe that there's magic in the moments that sports creates. We get customers closer to the game and help companies use the power of sports to grow their business. We've been in business 30 years, and we've had multiple systems to keep track of all the athletes and all of our customers. Multiple systems means multiple headaches. So we made the move to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite lets us replace all of our finance, inventory, and CRM functions with one convenient system. Now all the departments can see the same data And if I have a question about our business, I can get the answer quickly.
This month, NetSuite is offering a free 60-minute business review with an expert in your industry to identify opportunities to turbocharge your growth. To get your free review, go to netsuite.com/Steiner. That's netsuite.com/Steiner. netsuite.com/Steiner.
How many countries would you say you guys are used in?
All of them.
So across the world.
Across the world, yes.
A lot to unpack there, a lot going on, especially on the accounting side of things. So let's take it back a bit. When did the company originally start looking for new ERP solutions and why?
So we started looking in 2017 because we knew we were going to need something as we were growing. We didn't really have revenue. We just had investor money at that point.
Okay.
So we knew once we started making money, we're going to have to get a little more complicated with our accounting system. And since we are across the world, we knew that we would need all of the currencies. So we went with something that would be able to handle that.
Got it. And you went with NetSuite?
We did.
You went with NetSuite. What challenges would you say Duolingo was facing on previous systems?
It was mostly that there wasn't a way to control access to as much level as we needed, but also that international piece of not being able to have all of these currencies or subsidiaries. We were doing a lot of journal entries still on spreadsheets, as accountants are known to do.
It's a lot, yeah.
So there were just things that we're able to automate as coming over to this solution.
And what other, you were saying we wanted access into certain like data and information. What kind of data were you looking for?
So it was more access to being able to control things. Like when you're on a basic platform, everybody just has admin access. But as you get more complicated, maybe they only need revenue access or write bills access, more the internal control side than actually looking, well, that still involves looking at information.
Yeah, still, yeah. So why NetSuite? I mean, why NetSuite over other competitors? Because there are plenty out there.
There are. We wanted to have somebody that was cloud-based.
Okay.
So we could do this from anywhere. We wanted to have a solution that could do the currencies, the subsidiaries, somebody that could grow with us and seem to understand that we were a high-growth company.
Okay.
So we talked to NetSuite because you had other customers like us and would understand some of the struggles that we would have.
Yeah, what do you mean by high growth? Can you unpack that a bit for our listeners?
That means that we have over 300 million users. And most of the things we charge are maybe under $5. So there's just a lot of transactions, and as you start to unroll your revenue plan, it gets to millions of transactions.
Got it. That's, yeah. And when did Duolingo, when did you guys first start running?
We are about 7 years into our life cycle.
And how much have you grown over the past 7 years?
Goodness, we went from maybe 10 people to about 150 people.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and we have, our revenue is existent now where it was not before.
Yeah. So this is what you mean by high growth.
Yes. And we're doubling revenue year over year.
Wow.
So it goes fast too.
What components of NetSuite does Duolingo utilize?
So we use OneWorld for our accounting software, and we've added 2 modules so far.
Okay.
The advanced revenue management and fixed assets.
And how have those impacted your success or your growth?
They've helped a lot because we're, mainly subscription based.
Wow.
And we early adopted the ASC 606 that everyone loves talking about.
Can you explain that to our listeners who might not know?
So that are the new rules for how you should recognize revenue and what steps go into it.
Yeah.
And it's a 5-step process, but ultimately it means that we're spreading our subscription revenue generally over the life of however long that subscription lasts.
Got it.
And this keeps us from having to do that with formulas that actually say this much was bought on this day, now spread it over 12 months.
Right. So what would you say overall, I mean, not just with the modules that you've implemented, but what would you say overall to how NetSuite has catered to Duolingo's growth and success? You've doubled, year over year. Mm-hmm. How has NetSuite helped you get there? Whether it's through efficiencies, whether it's through headcount, whether it's through, data.
Yeah, I think most of it is just communicating with our account rep about what we're seeing and experiencing, and then they've set us up with the right people to start to find solutions to whatever we happen to be experiencing and finding like-minded people.
As a part of the accounting team, how does NetSuite help you in your day-to-day?
So since I'm one of the 2 that's doing the journal entries, it's just made it so that I don't have to do calculations. I don't have to be checking spreadsheets to see if there's formula errors. We can send things electronically and move information a little faster. We're working on projects to automate right now so that we can even focus less on things like that. So it's just growing right with us.
What are you looking to automate?
Accounts payable and moving information into the system with some of these data interfaces, getting the revenue to just flow between the places.
Awesome. Well, we are actually currently at Sweet World 19. Our listeners can probably hear some of the noise in the background. Are you learning about new things here, new things that you want to implement, new ways of automating processes?
We are, and we're even learning some of the people that we already partnered with that we just want to talk to and be like, hey, we're already a customer.
Yeah.
Have things we didn't know about, so we're even learning things that they can do that we hadn't thought of before.
Yeah.
And we've gotten a lot of demos even before this, so now we're actually coming to talk to everybody in person and say, what do you do? What do you struggle with?
That's
what do you
awesome.
have? Yes, it's been a very good conference.
Awesome. That's something that I actually want to talk about a little bit. We talk a lot, about, NetSuite is the system that, can help put better efficiencies in place and so on and so forth. But what about working with NetSuite from a human-to-human level, especially since you're one of two accounting people? So you're working with NetSuite all the time and working with, our employees all the time and our partners. What would you say from a person-to-person level?
I'd say it's really good. Now that we've been on it for about a year.
Okay.
So now that we're in our good account rep.
Yeah.
They know more about us. They understand and send us information that they have before we even know it exists.
Wow.
So it's gotten so much nicer now that we're a little more established.
Yeah. Why was it important to find a cloud-based solution?
We like to go places.
Clearly.
Yeah, so even while we're here, we can get into the system if we need to and do some work.
Yeah. Have you been doing that?
Not too much.
Good. You should be enjoying yourself.
Yes.
But this is enough NetSuite for one period of time.
Right.
So being, in various countries, do you guys have 150 people? Are you guys located in one office? Are you guys located all over the world?
We have a few offices, but we are not all over the world yet.
Oh, where are you?
So mostly just New York, Seattle, and here.
Okay.
Well, not here, but Pittsburgh, sorry.
Yeah. Home.
Yes, home. And Pittsburgh is our headquarters.
Okay.
So that's where most of us are.
So having a cloud-based solution with, several different offices across the states is important.
It is.
Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. What would you tell another person with your role maybe who's looking into NetSuite?
I would say make sure that you communicate your needs so that you get it set up right from the beginning. There's a lot of things that are customizable, so you don't necessarily realize as you start to go in that this has a lot more functionality than you expect.
Yeah, definitely. What kind of things have you realized that you could customize for Duolingo?
So we actually just did the pre-event training to do the searches and reporting. So
wow.
We're going to get into that and the KPI dashboards.
Yeah. Are you excited to get back to Pittsburgh and dive into that?
A little bit.
Yeah. Nerding out a little bit over it.
I am.
I love that. So what can we look forward to from Duolingo in the future?
So we're always improving the ways we teach languages. Our learning team has been working hard on improving some of our largest courses, and we will actually have a blog post come out about that today.
Ooh. Love
that explains more of what that means. And essentially, with the updates, learners will be able to reach a higher level of proficiency than before. We're adding 800 new words to our main courses. So lots of new content for people to have fun with.
Very cool. Because we're recording this while at Sweet World, the blog post will be up by the time this podcast episode comes out. So I'll make sure to provide a link to that.
Yep. I've already read it. It's very interesting.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for being with us on this episode of the NetSuite podcast. And we look forward to learning more from Duolingo in the future.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Gracias, Amanda Strader, for joining us on this episode of the NetSuite podcast. I also want to thank our sponsors over at Blue Microphones and Steiner Sports, as well as our editing crew over at Lampstand, and all you listeners, as always, for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe. Adios.
You just listened to the NetSuite podcast. Be sure to tune in every week with more NetSuite developments, stories, and insights into the benefits of one integrated system to help you run your business.